The Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has a total of 12 different FNAF games that don't even include the spin-off games, dozens of books, and even movies in the works. The series that started as a simple horror indie game developed into a cultural phenomenon, with FNAF being a staple in the horror genre and community. With new games being released, it has all created one single deep and complicated storyline with confusing lore for fans to attempt to solve. But what if it all ended? What if the story that we all grew to love and appreciate had finally come to an end? Every character, animatronic, and storyline had finally been put to rest. This would open the doors for a complete reboot and overhaul of the lore. Fans have wanted a reboot ever since the release of FNAF Help Wanted, and continue to support the idea of one. And throughout the channel, I've already made a reboot concept for the first two FNAF games, so in this video, I'm finally going to finish off the first trilogy of my FNAF series. I'm going to cover where this third game would take place, the characters, gameplay, the story, the lore, and how it could set up a fourth FNAF game if needed. But I also wanted to give a special thanks to the Unwithered Truth who inspired this FNAF reboot series. I'm sure many of you have seen his amazing FNAF 1 reboot video, so I also wanted to give my take on a reboot series that would be completely separate to the FNAF games we all know and love. My main goal with this series was to introduce a completely new story or timeline, diverging from the established lore of previous games like rebooted games often do. I didn't just want to retell what we already knew about FNAF. So please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and let's go over my FNAF 3 reboot, Five Nights at Freddy's Carnival Frights. With the first FNAF reboot, I wanted it to revolve around something that had already been established in the main story, but something that was never explored: Fall Fest. Fall Fest is a carnival created for the fans by the fans, just like Fast Fest in the FNAF 2 movie. A new company named Golden Hour Carnival Co. created mascot animatronics of each of Fazbear's most popular and memorable characters alongside Fredbear. You play as a security guard named Mike, who not only works as a security guard but also as a technician. There are also reports of missing children around the area, but the company wants you to ignore them. One of the main focuses is Freddy, who has been missing all week, until you find him dragging a body into the auditorium. There you find 6 versions of mascot Fredbear, all with a body inside as only the hair is popping out. In the secret ending, you then find all of the Fredbears from the night before packed in a truck before driving off. The truck drives off to a new location by the same company, Fredbear Singing Land, where the sequel takes place. Here we play as a new security guard named Jeremy. Each night focuses on a different Fredbear and different mechanic, where the game makes it clear the Fredbears are possessed by children, who are confused and scared to what happened to them. On the 5th night, Jeremy is bitten by an animatronic in Singing Land, causing it to go on lockdown and forces Mike from the first game to return. Night 6 focuses on Mike being tortured by the spirits inside of the mascot Fredbear suits and being blamed for them being left behind and murdered by Freddy. This game ends with the Fredbears attaching their own spirits to Mike, never letting him rest. For a bonus ending, by collecting the secret Spring Bonnie toy, you can unlock the Spring Lock incident, which leads directly to Carnival Frights. With FNAF 3, it's assumed that the setting, Fazbear Frights, is the exact same pizzeria where the first FNAF game took place. So, following the same format, my FNAF 3 reboot would also take place in the setting from the first game, the Fall Fest Carnival. But unlike FNAF 3, this wouldn't be the location being reopened as a horror attraction. Instead, Fall Fest is being torn down by a demolition company, leaving only half of the carnival space left, as you can still find attractions like Bonnie's Bumper Cars, Foxy's Freefall, and Freddy's Ferris Wheel. There are also other buildings like a Carnival tent and abandoned warehouse that both hold their own mysteries and Easter eggs for the player to find. And all of this would also act as half of the map. The other half of the map would be part of a forest, an area with no lights or noise, where anything can be hiding in the shadows. And of course, there will also be Easter eggs to uncover throughout this area. So, Carnival Frights is a nickname given to these two areas for their creepy and chilling nature, and because of the tragedy that occurred there years ago, which brings me to the timeline. From FNAF 3 to the game that took place before it, there's a 30-year time jump that most likely puts this game in the early 2000s. So with my reboot, I'm also going to have a time jump, but it's only going to be 15 years. Because my reboot already takes place in a somewhat distant future, I don't want this game to take place even more in the future. And 15 years would still allow for Spring Bonnie to become Springtrap and for other events with Golden Hour Carnival Co. to occur, which I'll go over soon. Now looking at the characters, of course the main focus and antagonist will be Springtrap. 15 years after this mysterious man was spring-locked in the warehouse from Fall Fest, he becomes Springtrap, where his skin and flesh are now fused together to the metal and robotic parts of the animatronic. For the reboot, I'm using this amazing model by David the 19th that is based on Ignited Springtrap from the Joy of Creation FNAF series. Here Springtrap is missing one of his ears, parts of his chest, parts of his legs, and parts on both his arms like the outer shell to his hand. His flesh is a lot more exposed with this model, and it works perfectly with the feeling of Fall Fest and the carnival. Throughout the gameplay portion, I will also be using different types of animations for Springtrap when he's running at the player, walking around the carnival, is standing still, or is even injured by something. Like FNAF 3, of course, there will also be the phantoms, which are burnt and damaged ghost-like entities based on the different animatronics from both the Fall Fest and Singing Land locations. There's Phantom Freddy from the original Fall Fest Carnival, whose main mechanic is simply a distraction for the player. Freddy can appear randomly in front of you in either areas of the map but won't attack you or jump scare you. He would simply get in your way, allowing for Springtrap to get closer to you and possibly jump scare you. There is Phantom Puppet based on the draw kill style of animatronics. The puppet will appear in front of you, causing you to not be able to move your character or camera. You'll be forced to stare at the puppet for a certain amount of time while she slowly moves around, but after a while she will disappear, which will allow you to move away like normal. Phantom Balloon Boy based on JJ's design from Ultimate Custom Night will have a similar mechanic to the one he had in Fall Fest. Balloon Boy will jump in front of you and will begin acting as an alarm, spinning his head around in a circle and playing a loud noise alerting Springtrap to your exact position, and he won't disappear until a certain amount of time has passed. Phantom Chica's mechanic is like any other mascot animatronic. She will be hiding in different areas of the carnival or forest, and when she is found by the player, she will begin to chase them, and if she catches them, she will even jump scare you, which will cause you to slow down, allowing Springtrap to find you and jump scare you. Phantom Fredbear, the final phantom, will be the rarest of the bunch to appear in front of you, but if he does, he'll cause you to be inactive for the longest period of time. Fredbear will stop the player from moving and will force them to relive different memories and tragedies from the first two locations. And the entire time the player is reliving those moments, Springtrap will be getting closer and has a chance of jump scaring you. None of the phantoms can actually hurt the player, and Springtrap is the only actual threat that can cause the player to lose. So with that said, now we can finally start to look at the gameplay, starting with Night 1. The player is met with a newspaper similar to the one from the two previous games. Here we learn of a demolition company looking to hire a security guard who can patrol the remains of the carnival while making sure nothing gets in or out. On the right, we also get more context to what happened to Golden Hour Carnival Co., as after years of facing lawsuits and legal troubles from the first two locations opened, they are now being destroyed and Golden Hour Carnival Co. is on the verge of bankruptcy, which now leads me to the gameplay. The night begins with you walking to the front of the carnival where you see the entrance sign, where here I use a Freddy Fazbear logo for reference. Walking closer to the front gates, you realize the carnival has been temporarily closed off. To the right of the entrance, you see a Fall Fest poster from the early 1970s, which was also used with the original Fazbear's Entertainment Carnival. Walking inside, you begin to see part of the carnival and some of the attractions. But to the right, you immediately see the puppet, who was one of the original animatronics with the original location before it was closed off, where she would give tickets to all the guests and would greet them. Behind the puppet, you can also find the remains of the other half of the carnival, where you can find different rides and attractions and what's left of them. You also find familiar rides like Bonnie's bumper cars, Freddy's Ferris wheel behind it, and to the left of Freddy's attraction you can find Foxy's Freefall. These were all rides that were once used by different guests of the park, and rides that were also being featured with different mascot animatronics. You also find the giant carousel in the middle of this side of the carnival, and you can also see different booths next to them with lights connecting them all. And in one of these booths, you can find the first mechanic to my FNAF 3 Reboot game, which is the exact same system control panel from the original FNAF game. It has the same restart options like the audio devices or the camera system, with a button next to it to restart the system. An error alert will randomly go off while you're playing, which will force you to reach the panel to reset the system, as if you fail to do so on time you'll be jump scared by Springtrap. On the left side of the carnival you can also find the forest section of the map, but the player won't enter the forest on the first night, as this night serves the purpose to familiarize the player with the carnival and the new mechanics. But the player's first stop is a tent that would have played shows for guests. Walking inside the tent is completely empty as there's nothing to find. You look to your left and then to your right, before Phantom Freddy appears in front of you attempting to grab you. You run away to the opposite side of the carnival to try to get away from him. Looking back, you realize there's nothing, and now you're confused to what you even saw. You attempt to go back inside of the tent to see if what you saw was real, but looking back inside there's nothing and no trace of Phantom Freddy. So, ignoring what you saw, you continue to walk around the carnival and to look around at the different attractions that have been abandoned by Golden Hour Carnival Co. You also go back to the system panel to make sure no errors have gone off and to make sure that everything is in order. But while checking the panel, you hear something behind you, and it's none other than Phantom Freddy staring directly at you, causing you to run away towards the forest. But looking back, you don't see anything once more, making you confused and making you question if it was all real or all just an hallucination. So for the rest of the night, you continue to walk around the park while also being cautious of Phantom Freddy and other dangers that could be hidden within the carnival. But for the rest of the night, Phantom Freddy won't be a threat nor will he attack you. So you check the system panel one last time before you head back to the front entrance where the night ends. With the first night, I wanted to give an easy introduction to the forest and to the carnival mechanics. It's a night with no real threats just like in FNAF 3, and it's also a good time for Phone Dude to give us context to Golden Hour Carnival Co., which I'll go over in the lore section of the video. But now let's look at night 2. Night 2 begins with you looking at the sign once more before walking to the front entrance to begin the night. Once you're inside, you look at the puppet and to the other attractions. You walk around still getting used to the layout of the carnival by getting a closer look at the different rides. You then also decide to take a closer look to the system panel to make sure no errors are detected. But someone I haven't mentioned yet is Phone Dude, a character from FNAF 3 who talks to the player for the first 2 nights of the game.
Hey, I'm glad you could come back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time. We found something so special it was being kept in the warehouse for who knows how long. So take a look if you want, but make sure not to touch it. The original owners of Fall Fest want it back since it's quote-unquote extremely valuable. I've got to go, so good luck and I'll talk to you soon.
So you begin to walk inside not knowing what to expect, but once you're actually inside you find absolutely nothing. You look around only to simply find a table with 2 monitors inside that would have been the security camera system. Getting a closer look, you realize that both monitors stop working, meaning that the cameras around the carnival have also stopped working. You take one last look around only to again find nothing, so you begin to leave feeling unsatisfied. But once outside, you look to your left only to find what the demolition company was talking about. Springtrap has begun walking towards you. Scared, you of course run away and attempt to lose him around the carnival. You decide to look behind you only to see Springtrap running towards you attempting to grab you. So you continue to run around the carnival trying to lose him. You then look towards the forest, realizing that you're running out of options. So you again look behind you as Springtrap is running towards you at full force, so your only option is to run towards the forest. And doing so will bring you to the next section of the map, the Fall Fest forest. Walking deeper into the forest, your only source of light is your flashlight, but looking behind you, Springtrap is already chasing you, forcing you to run away. A new mechanic here in the forest are boulders that you'll be able to hide behind and will be the only thing that will allow you to lose Springtrap or any of the phantoms. Behind one of the boulders, you can spot Springtrap walking the opposite direction in a slow and chilling manner, so walking backwards while continuing to stare at him, you begin to get away. But then suddenly Springtrap is chasing you once more, forcing you to run away towards another boulder. There, you're successful in losing Springtrap as he is no longer near you, but looking behind you, Phantom Puppet will appear in front of you. Like I mentioned earlier, her mechanic will force you to stare at her while loud noise plays in the background. You can't move or look around as you wait for her to disappear. Once she does, you can move around again, which will leave you confused and frustrated. But looking back once more, you can spot Springtrap in the distance walking around the forest. But heading back to the carnival and turning around, Springtrap is once again chasing you and even laughing at you. So, still running back to the carnival, turning around at any given moment, Springtrap will be running at you, and the only way to avoid him is to return to the carnival to end the night. With Night 2, the player finally gets an introduction to Springtrap, who can chase you around both sides of the map and has different animations and sounds. It also introduces Phantom Puppet, and after Phantom is introduced, they have a chance of appearing the following night. So now let's look at Night 3. Now Night 3 will mainly take place in the carnival and will actually set up a new mechanic.
Hey man, you didn't touch what was in the warehouse, right? It's missing and we can't seem to find it, but we need it now or all of our jobs could be on the line. We also got reports of something wandering in the area, so as a reminder, make sure nothing gets in or out. It's your job and we can't have any incidents. Not after what happened years ago.
But turning around, you'll find Springtrap just standing there near the tent and in the corner of the park. Getting closer to him, but cautiously, you can really get a closer look at his design, like the fact that the flesh is meshed together with the animatronic parts. But because you don't want him to spot you, you run away before Phantom Balloon Boy jumps in front of you. Here, his head will spin around in a circle while playing a loud alarm that will give away your location. As turning around, Springtrap will now be walking towards you, so running away you attempt to hide from him by hiding behind one of the booths. But it doesn't work as Springtrap finds you and begins running towards you. So, making a complete circle around the park, you'll find a large speaker next to Bonnie's bumper cars. There you can press E, which will play a loud chime that will physically hurt and disable Springtrap. As turning around, you'll find Springtrap on the floor and he won't be a threat to Mike for 10 seconds. Allowing you to run away to hide in the warehouse. There you stare at Springtrap as he walks across you and towards the forest, giving you enough time to run out, ending the night. Night 3 serves the purpose of showing off two different mechanics. I had already mentioned the system panel, but here it will actually go off, and from here on out, it can start to go off randomly. It also introduces the speaker by Bonnie's bumper cars, a way to disable Springtrap for 10 seconds, allowing you to get away. And with the next Phantom introduced being Balloon Boy, let's now look at Night 4, one important for the lore. Now Night 4 will mainly take place in the forest section of the map, where you begin to walk around with Springtrap nowhere to be found and you assume he's just at the carnival. Walking further into the woods, and next to a boulder, Phantom Fredbear will appear in front of you for a slight moment before disappearing. He won't cause anything to happen quite yet, and his first appearance is almost a warning to the player for what's to come. So, ignoring Fredbear, you walk to the other side of the forest where you think you spot Springtrap in the distance. Springtrap is standing completely still and doesn't notice you slowly walking behind him. You can hear his animatronic parts moving against his flesh, and you can even hear his laughter once more, showing that some small part of him is still human and in a sense still alive. You continue to flash your light on him while walking around him, but before you test your luck, you decide to turn around and head back to the actual carnival. But before you can reach the entrance, Fredbear appears in front of you once more, locking your movement. Unlike the puppet, you can still look around, but you won't be able to escape. You'll hear a chilling noise with the words "It's me" flashing on your screen simultaneously. Fredbear will then force you to relive moments and memories from the past two locations that Mike both had parts in. You first see mascot Freddy from Fall Fest. You then relive Jeremy's memories where he played a game of chase with a brown Fredbear near the bakery, as he slowly turns around to Fredbear waving at him. You then see another one of his memories where he had to face the yellow and purple Fredbear in his theater. Here Jeremy was hiding behind a seat trying to avoid Fredbear while watching him, before Fredbear appears in front of him, beginning to grab him and getting closer. You then see Mike's own memories from his only night in Singing Land where he confronts the main Fredbear, and where Fredbear makes it clear that they all blame him for all of their deaths. And finally, Fredbear's segment ends with playing one of Jeremy's final memories where he stares at all of the Fredbears gathered around the main one while the light from all of their eyes slowly disappear. Once these memories stop, you head back to the front gate where you finally end Night 4. Now Night 4 strays away from Springtrap and focuses a lot more on Fredbear, and by having his mechanics force the player to relive memories, I wanted to connect this game with Singing Land. At the end of that game, we saw the Fredbear spirits attach themselves to Mike, so the phantoms and hallucinations are a direct result of that moment. But why they're all different characters instead of the Fredbears they were stuffed inside of, and why there's only 5 of them is something we'll discuss later, so now let's look at Night 5. Now looking at night 5, the main focus here will be the mascots. Right off the bat, after starting the night, Phantom Puppet will appear in the entrance, locking your screen and movement. After a certain amount of time, she will disappear, allowing you to walk in, which will also force you to run towards the warehouse. But before you even get a chance to walk inside, Phantom Chica appears in front of you and begins to chase you. Then, running to the tent, Freddy will appear in front of you, blocking off the entrance. But before you can even catch your breath, Balloon Boy jumps in front of you, forcing you to go around him and in another direction. Then Phantom Fredbear starts glitching on your screen, with the same message, "It's me" from night 4. After the hallucinations disappear, the Phantoms will start appearing in front of you, taunting you. First, Chica appears on your right side, then Puppet causes your screen to lock for a quick moment, and finally, Phantom Freddy appears in front of you. And the entire time all of this is happening, we can hear children's laughter, as again these spirits are taunting Mike. But finally, walking towards the forest, all Phantoms will be gathered around Springtrap, who is injured and laying on the ground. It's not clear why or what's happening, as all the Phantoms slowly start turning their heads to you while an eerie noise plays in the background. Scared to find out what's going to happen in Springtrap, you of course run towards the entrance to Fall Fest while taking one last look at the animatronics before ending the night.
Hey, what are you doing? You need to leave right now.
But of course, like many classic Five Nights at Freddy's games, there's a night 6. The night begins with the player feeling that things are off, as after what happened last night, many questions still stand, like where is Springtrap or what happened to the Phantoms. So walking near the tent and turning around, you'll face Springtrap. He'll jump at you, screaming at you, which will force you to run away. Turning around, Springtrap will be chasing you near the warehouse, so in a last minute effort, you turn left.
You think you can just leave me here? You're nothing without me!
He then hits an electric meter, which will then cause electrical sparks to go flying, which will then cause a fire around the warehouse and the surrounding grass.
It was always your fault! I hate you!
The flames get larger and larger as Springtrap is completely engulfed in them.
I hate you!
Completing Night 6 will unlock the second star and the second ending. A newspaper reporting that Carnival Frights has been burnt to the ground mysteriously and that nothing was able to be recuperated after the fire. The report is accompanied by a single bobblehead of Spring Bonnie, but taking this image and brightening it, Springtrap will of course be behind the bobblehead alive. But he will now look completely different, as his appearance will now resemble Scraptrap, but the screen fades to black, revealing the menu screen once more. But what about all of the lore and Easter eggs that can actually unlock us a third and final ending? Well, for that, we need to head back to the carnival any night of the player's choosing. Around the carnival, you'll be able to find different bobbleheads of different animatronics or characters. There will be a total of 5 different bobbleheads that need to be found, so you can find characters like Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Spring Bonnie, or Fredbear. But after finding the last one, you'll be transported somewhere completely different, somewhere that feels familiar yet distant. Looking around, you'll find the exact same bobbleheads you just collected, but much larger versions of them scattered around the area and hills. But a giant tree next to Spring Bonnie catches your eye, so you decide to get closer by walking up this hill. There you will find 5 graves with the spirits of the dead children in front of them, and you have the option of placing the 5 bobbleheads you collected on top of each grave, so one by one you place each bobblehead. After placing the last one, you take a step back and the spirits disappear, being put to rest. But one spirit will actually remain and won't disappear, one that shares a grave with another spirit. But looking around one last time, you'll find that there are 2 more graves off to the distance that are out of reach, and this will also end the Easter egg and secret ending. But now looking back to the carnival, on night 1 Springtrap is actually disabled, but by activating all generators found around the map, the warehouse door will open, allowing you to walk inside. There you'll find Springtrap, who is still disabled, rotting in the corner just like where Phone Dude said he's supposed to be. To the left you find the same table from other nights, but this time you find a journal laid flat on the table. Taking a closer look, it's actually something that can be collected, so picking up the journal and beginning to walk outside, you can begin to read pages from it. And the more you read from the journal, the more you realize that it belonged to the mystery man who would become Springtrap.
All I wanted to do was help, to make sure that no one was injured or hurt because of their own actions. Who are they to fire me? Without me, Fall Fest wouldn't exist. Without me, the mascots wouldn't even function. Without me, they would be nothing. But they'll see. They'll see what happens when you ruin a family and a man's reputation. All it takes is a simple rework of Freddy, and everything they've built will crumble. The suit was simple but effective. It was made up of the suit's lining, a hand crank, bolts, and, of course, the spring locks. This would allow for performers to wear the suit when needed, but it could also walk and even greet guests in the park, all on its own. But they called it useless. Something that was a waste of time and money, when the mascots could do all the work for us. But of course they need my help to make that even possible. They need me to do all the work, but take all of the credit. And after what happened the last 2 times, they just shut me out. But I won't let them use me, and I won't let them win. Not anymore. 6 children missing. 6 children dead because of Freddy, and they don't even realize this is just the beginning. Innocent souls to simply damage control. Pawns needed to instill principles. If I actually do this, no one would be able to get in my way. It has to work. I can't let them get away with this any longer. I need to be free, and there's only one way to do that. One way to finally be reunited with her. Please forgive me. I had to. Please understand, Elizabeth. But no more excuses. I'll finally fulfill what I promised. I'm going to find you, Elizabeth.
But like most classic FNAF games, of course we have to include minigames. Minigames that may seem normal at first, but taking a different path or waiting for something to happen, these minigames can reveal parts of the lore and story to us that the normal gameplay wouldn't be able to. I imagine Carnival Frights having a few minigames, but I see 2 of them having a secret aspect of them that reveals lore. So let's start with the first minigame, Freddy's Power Outage. Here you play as Circus Freddy from the first Reboot game in the circus area from Carnival Frights. You're in charge of making sure that all 3 generators are on at all times, as any of them can suddenly turn off. So balance keeping all generators on, as if all 3 of them shut off, the park will shut down as well and the minigame will end. So run around the carnival making sure all generators are on and keep them on until the timer runs out. And after some time has passed, the minigame will end and you can walk towards the exit ending the minigame. But if you actually stay and wait for a while after it has all ended, the cheerful music will stop and you'll begin hearing footsteps as a mysterious figure walks towards the carnival. You have to hide and get away from this person in order to see what he's doing. He will then walk to the warehouse and open the door.
Don't leave me here!
Then he will walk away and leave whatever was inside of the warehouse behind. With the second minigame, let's now look at Foxy's pizza delivery. With this minigame, you play as Foxy delivering pizzas to different pizzerias, and you have to deliver as many pizzas as you can before the timer runs out. And in one of these pizzerias, you can actually walk past the delivery station and onto the next area of the pizzeria, where in front of you, you can find a door. So getting closer to that door, you can then open it to find something inside. But finally, when looking at bonus content for this game, I of course want to include collectibles that can even act as lore itself. These would be collectibles scattered around the carnival and forest areas of the map. So walk around to find plushies, posters, food items, and other collectibles from this rebooted FNAF world. I like the idea of having collectibles that can set up future FNAF games and locations that we haven't explored yet, like a golden Freddy plushie that can set up FNAF 4 or whatever Fredbear's family diner would look like. Of course, you can also pick up each collectible to take a better look at it. Although some collectibles will have less lore importance, like a small Foxy arcade machine found in the back of the carnival. You can also find an old and rundown poster advertising a location featuring Circus Baby, and it'll be one of the many posters you could find around the map. But the location or when it was opened isn't made clear based on the poster. Although sister location would be a few games away, I still like the idea of playing it as early as FNAF 3. And finally, in the tent where you could find the Bonnie bobblehead to unlock the secret ending, you can also find a plushie of Purple Guy. Of course, we all know Purple Guy becomes Springtrap, and I thought it would be a fun nod to include this infamous sprite in plush form in my reboot. You can find these collectibles any night of the game, and you don't have to complete those nights in order for those collectibles to save in your inventory. Meaning you can look back at these whenever you'd like. But finally, I already went over how you can unlock the first star from completing Night 5, a second star from completing Night 6, and a third star from completing the third and final ending. But I also like the idea of the player being able to unlock a fourth and final star by playing the custom night game mode. Like most custom night game modes, the animatronics would have a difficult setting of 1 to 20, so unlocking the fourth star would only be possible by completing 620 mode, all animatronics enabled at their highest difficulty. And to make things even harder, if you get jump scared by Phantom, you will actually die from them just like Springtrap and you'll be forced to restart. But of course this wouldn't apply to all Phantoms, as the puppet and balloon boy can only distract you. So although completing 620 won't unlock a fourth ending, it will unlock the fourth and final star, which will of course be displayed on the menu screen, meaning you fully completed the game. So with that said, are there plans for Five Nights at Freddy's 4? Yes, absolutely. Not only was a possible fourth game already set up with this game, but it's honestly been set up since the very first FNAF game. With Fall Fest, I mentioned how the Fredbear suits had previously belonged to another location on a much smaller scale than Fredbear Singing Land. Then in Singing Land, we learn how there's another spirit inside of one of the Fredbear suits, all leading to my rebooted version of FNAF 4 and Fredbear's Family Diner. So with all that said, please make sure to comment down below any thoughts or theories, as I love reading through these comments. Also, please make sure to comment down below any recommendations down in the comment section. Again, I always enjoy reading through the comments, and I always want to know what you guys want more from the channel. So whether that be yet another reboot video, a specific theory or game that you want me to cover, or anything else related to the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, make sure to comment it down below. If it's something I end up making a video on, I'll make sure to give you complete credit so you have a chance of being featured in one of my upcoming videos. So with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed my take on a FNAF 3 reboot, Five Nights at Freddy's Carnival Frights. So what do you guys think? Make sure to comment down below any thoughts or how you would reboot the franchise and how exactly would it look like. Where would you start, what characters, and why? So make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you guys so much for watching.